Hey guys, AJ with Relentless Racing. Welcome back to the channel. So, for those of you that have subscribed for a while, you guys know that I am not a little OCD, but I'm always OCD. So, if I hear a noise within the cabin, it actually hinders me from driving because I'm like, oh, hey, what's that noise? One of the most common MR2 Spyder rattles is right underneath the engine hood. And if you're a PFL owner, I'm not talking about rod knock. But if you do have rod knock, message me and I can get you a new motor. So check it out underneath here. Right here is the culprit. See how this thing's loose right here? This piece is missing as well. So there are these little press clips that are plastic, and because of all the heat that comes up off the engine, these things get brittle. So I'm going to put a Riv Nut behind each one of these things and install an M61 in these two locations right here. Before removing the drip tray, we need to remove this plastic clip and this plastic clip right here. So I'm just going to use my panel popper and pop this guy out. And it's okay if it breaks because we could always get another one. Sometimes it's easier just to cut these things off. You peel them off like this, you may have to cut that thing out. Kung Fu grip. Got it. Little clip right there. Got it. Okay, now we're going to use an 8mm to remove these guys. And then let's get these lower ones right here. And then we can finally remove this guy. And this is our 1132. And finally a 2164.
I decided to replace these two plastic clips with M61 Riv Nuts.
So these two holes here, we could open up these guys too. And let's do a double check with one of our Riv Nuts. Fits perfect, looks good, awesome. And let's do a quick cleanup with this guy. This is a blind hole chamfer. So this guy goes in here, and you kind of want to stick it kind of like, let's see if I can get it to focus here. Stick it like this. You push it in here, and then you push this little guy down to the bottom, and then it should get caught in there, just like that. You can kind of see it doing its deal on the inside. And then when you want to take it out, you push this button again, and then it comes out. And so let me show you guys what it looks like from the other side. So this thing comes in through here. You push the button, and then it's like that. So just kind of wrap it around like that, get her nice and smooth. But obviously if you have access to it in the front, just do it that way.
Here I'm using a paint pen to prevent corrosion.
So today we're going to be using this Riv Nut tool, and this Riv Nut tool is required for riv nuts. So essentially what a riv nut is, it's essentially a combination of a rivet and a nut. So you essentially put this thing into a hole and then you compress it, and then it has a thread inside of it. So here's the tool. The tool that I use, I like it because it has a bunch of the different heads, and it came with a bunch of sample riv nuts. So it's got SAE and it's got all the metric stuff. So M3 all the way to M12, and then it's got 3/8 to, sorry, it's got 1024 all the way up to 3/8. And then again, they give you a couple extra of these guys, and if you need more, you could always buy some more off of Amazon because, like, look, I used a bunch of the M4s up. You only get a few of them, so I bought some extra ones. I use M61 a lot, and I also use M8 by 1.25 a lot. But this is the tool that we're going to be using today. I'll put the link in the description. So you take your Riv Nut, put it on here, and I'm using a galvanized Riv Nut. I don't like using the stainless ones because they tend to gall. So just put that guy in here, and then we're going to put it in the hole and give it a good squeeze. And then we're going to tighten it down again and give it another good squeeze, and you'll feel it gripping on, and then take it out. And voila, we have an M61 thread right there. So let's just repeat the process. Now on this plate, remember this plate goes on like this, so the riv nut has to enter this side. Put it in this way. Now, some people stick these things in wet, so you could put either Honda Bond or you could put Permatex Gray on here, but not required. So this is a good opportunity so you could see what it looks like after you compress the riv nut onto this sheet on the drip tray. So this is what a normal riv nut looks like. Let's see what the bottom looks like. So see what happens is it gets compressed. You could see how big that one is. It compresses it right there, and it gets pressed in between, or the material gets pressed inside or in between this top flange and this section right here, hence the name riv nut. So let's do the other side. Remember to do the correct way, to install it the correct way. Insert and squeeze. And then tighten one more time. Squeeze again. Let's check if this drip tray fits properly. So remember, this is the orientation that we're in. Slips on like this. These black pieces go over the top. So that's the factory bolt, but look, we have a riv nut here, and we have two riv nuts, one over here, one over here. So we could also put an M61 and a big washer on here, like a fender washer onto there. Pretty cool. Let's go get some bolts. Let's see what we've got for M61 bolts. So I'm a big fan of JIS spec bolts, and I like a flanged head. It's kind of like what Honda and Toyota use a lot. So let's grab two of these guys. Actually, let's grab four of these things, and I believe these are, I think these are M61 by 16. Yeah, so these are 10, 12, 16, and then we've got some fender washers right here. Let's do that. All right, let's put this guy back together. I'm just gonna add just a little bit of Loctite on each one of these bolts before we go back in. I wish I had some black oxidized washers, but I don't. We could always switch these things out later. We'll put this guy on here right there, like that. And then same for this guy over here. So the M61, I'm just gonna do those at 80 inch-pounds. Try 50. And look, no rattle. That's money. Well, I hope you guys found this video helpful. And do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. This is AJ with Relentless Racing. Stay relentless, and I'll see you on the track.